Welcome to our webinar of the Catholic Academy of Communication Professionals. My name is Brian Finnerty, First Vice President for the Catholic Academy, also the U.S. Communications Director for Opus Dei. We're delighted to have here with us Father Rocky Hoffman, who is going to be sharing some ideas on sharing the good news of the gospel through Facebook and social media. So Father Rocky, on his Facebook page, as of just a couple of minutes ago, he currently has 3,030,445 likes on his Facebook page, which is quite possibly makes it the most liked Facebook page, Catholic Facebook page on the planet. So he's going to be talking, giving us some ideas on how to reach out through Facebook. He's the executive director of Relevant Radio, 57 stations in 28 states. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it right to him. Father Rocky, thank you so much for being with us.
Okay,
and look, just one other announcement. So Father Rocky will speak and we'll be accepting questions. If you want to submit a question and you're using the Zoom video tool, so you can do that through the chat feature at the bottom. So you can submit a question in text at the bottom, or if you're calling in by phone, you can do that by hitting *9, and that will be the equivalent of raising your hand. That way we'll know that you're ready to ask a question at some point. We'll go ahead and call on you. And everybody is muted right now. I ask you to keep the phone on mute, so that way we don't keep things on mute. Don't change that. So that way we won't have the background noise. So Father Rocky, thank you so much for being here.
Brian, thanks for setting this up. And Father Paul, thank you for the technical support in the background. Brian and I tested this yesterday on my laptop while I was sitting in an airplane terminal in Austin, Texas, and amazed how easy this is to work. And I currently see there's 27 participants on the call. And I'm sitting in a very nice room in the University Club in Chicago. I had to ditch out from a luncheon, and I didn't think I'd get back home on time, so I'm happy we've got Wi-Fi here. So you can see it's a very elegant room. This is not where I live, and I'm just in a bar that hasn't opened up yet, so that's what we're doing. And I'd like to begin with a little prayer, and all you have to do for this prayer is respond, pray for us. You can do that silently, and it goes like this: Our Lady of Telecommunications Lines and wireless communications, pray for us, because we know these systems sometimes are inherently unstable, but I'd like to get through this presentation without any technical glitches. So hopefully on your screen you can see my first slide that I've shared up there, which is called Global Digital Messaging. We see planet Earth, and I think that might even be the United States of America from outer space. And a little background to this conversation. I started full-time at Relevant Radio in 2009 in September. And 6 months later, our IT staff and website people encouraged everybody who was on air to get a Facebook page. This was in April of 2010. And I remember the presentation they made to us. They said Facebook is the fastest growing country in the world. It currently has 300,000 people. Somebody's not on mute there. So it currently has about 300 million people, and since that time it has almost tripled, quadrupled, quintupled in size. 1.5 billion people use it monthly. Over 1 billion people use it daily. And my first impression to getting a article or a Facebook page was I was not interested in that. I already had my cell phone, I had my home phone, I had my office phone. That's 3 phones. I had my regular address at home where people could send letters. I had an email address personally, and I had an email address at work. I had 6 ways that people could reach me, and I wasn't interested in another way. But anyway, I obeyed and got my Facebook page. And from 2010 April until 2013 September, even being on the air maybe 10 hours a week, I had a total of 6,000 likes. And then I discovered something in September of 2013, and that was associated with those terrible rains out in the Front Range of Colorado. You may have remembered that news. It devastated property and damaged people's lives. And I was familiar with that territory because I'd spent many winters and summers out in that area, and I was very concerned for the safety of the people. And I tried something that I'd never done before. I paid for an ad on Facebook to promote a prayer. It was a very simple prayer. And that prayer had a picture of emergency personnel rescuing somebody from a flooded river. And what I said, let's say a prayer for the safety of people in Colorado. And the prayer was very simple. Dear Jesus, through your power and mercy, help everyone to be safe in Colorado. Amen. Now, if you hear noise in the background, I'm in Chicago. That's fire trucks and police sirens. So we'll say a little prayer for them. And for something like a $200 ad, I was amazed at how it resonated with people. And it doubled the size of my page overnight. And that wasn't the intention of it originally. It was simply to promote a prayer, get people to pray. So that's kind of the background of where we are today. And I want to share those experiences we've made. That we share those experiences that we have learned over that time. So the first picture you see is planet Earth, and we've got a department at Relevant Radio called Global Digital Messaging, because through the internet you can reach just about any country in the world. And what does that look like today? Let's see if we advance this screen here. There are 7 billion people in the world. Currently, as of today, 2016, 3 billion of those are connected to the internet, have access to it. That's about 40% of the world. And the major digital information corporations, that would be Facebook, Google, Amazon, Samsung, Apple, and some other companies, they are interested in getting the rest of the world connected to the internet in the next 10 years. And that's an infrastructure challenge and a resource challenge, but that's the goal, to get the whole world connected to the internet. Take a look how the world has changed. You know this already, but it's really dramatic to see this photo. 2 pictures, 2005, 2013. Excuse me. Both pictures are St. Peter's Square at night. 2005 was the night that Benedict XVI was elected. 2013 is the night Francis was elected. See the difference? Those are not vigil candles on the right. Those are portable devices, electronic devices, tablets, smartphones, and the rest. That's how much the world has changed in just those 8 years, and now we're 3 years beyond that. So on the left, 2005, there was no smartphone yet. There were regular phones and there was texting, but there was no smartphone. There weren't phones that could take pictures. There weren't phones that could do video. There weren't phones that could have mobile apps. There weren't phones that could interface you with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So the world has changed rapidly, and what this has led to is the possibility to reach people anywhere at any time. Now, at Relevant Radio, we're interested in reaching people through the radio who are stuck and have nothing else to do. So there's a traffic jam somewhere in the country, and that's a traffic jam at TSA here, probably at O'Hare. Because radio is a multitasking medium that you can keep your eye on the road, but you can listen. But besides that, we've realized that exposure and consumption of media has increased dramatically in the last 10 years. Now, this graphic you see in front of you is a result of a research study by Edison Research Institute. Edison Research Institute is wholly owned by Nielsen and Arbitron, and we subscribe to their information. The TV and internet. It gained more than an hour since 2003. It's almost gained 2 hours. That's the self-reported average time spent per day with today's 3 biggest media, radio, TV, and internet. And that delta between 7 hours and 3 minutes, 8 hours and 47 minutes, almost 2 hours, that's almost entirely the internet and driven largely by mobile devices. Next graphic here. How did that happen? Why did it happen? Your iPhone on the left and your Android on the right. The Android is the supreme in Europe because it's a less expensive machine. iPhone is supreme in the United States, probably because of loyalty to Apple and market share and brand awareness. But they're basically the same instrument in terms of their capabilities. Just about everyone age 16 and older has a smartphone, and many kids have a smartphone too. I forget what the numbers is, but I think it's 85% penetration in the United States right now, age 12 and older. Everybody's got them. There's a little graphic. Men, women, youngsters, oldsters, rich and poor, they've got access to smartphones and the internet. So that's where you need to be in getting your message out there. You need to be on those mobile devices where people are consuming mobile media. Where are they consuming it? They're consuming it in between class. They're consuming it in traffic jams. They're consuming it at the doctor's office as they're waiting. They're consuming it at the airport as they're waiting, on the plane as they're waiting, on the plane in the sky. Even though they've got airplane mode on, they've downloaded features on it, text or audio or video that they can listen later. It's interesting, when I was flying down to Austin, Texas earlier this week, the guy sitting next to me used to be an engineer for Motorola. Now he works for another company that designs and builds smartphones. And I asked him, what's the next step in smartphones? Because not a whole lot has changed in terms of the design and functionality in the last 8 years with the iPhone and the Android. It's basically the same gizmo, but a little bit faster, a little bit better. He said it's going to continue to get better and faster with stronger processors and more storage space, either hard disk space on the device or in the cloud. So that's where we need to be. That's just where it's going. That's where it is. That's where it's going. Next slide. You may find this of great interest to you in your communication strategy. Again, this is information from the Edison Institute, EDISON, like Thomas Edison. You look at the top left corner, the sample size of this survey was 2,972 persons. That's a significant sample size for age 12 and older nationally in the United States. And they were measuring media hierarchy preferences in morning activities. All right, so morning activities is like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. What do people do when they get up in the morning? One of the very first things they do is go to texting and messaging. That doesn't show up on this bar, but that's 93%. Then Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, LinkedIn. And that's where people are. And you may know that yourself in your experience. If you get up in the morning, you grab your phone. If you see there's an inbox for a text message, I'll bet that's the first thing you go to. Then you may go to your email. Then you may go to your social media sites, Facebook. Then going down the line a little bit here, photo messaging, Instagram, 78%. Internet radio, owned music, music videos. Broadcast radio and television are in the middle. 55 and 52% of that public tunes into it in the morning. Now, what you notice in this chart, as you go down the chart and the numbers get shorter, actually the time spent listening or time spent viewing goes way up. So you might say, okay, well, if radio is only 55% of the public in the morning, why don't you just do Facebook, LinkedIn, and Snapchat? Because in the radio, we get them for sometimes 30 minutes in the morning, whereas in these other media platforms up here, it's significantly less. It could be 1 to 5 minutes. And in our ministry on radio, we're trying to drive up the time spent listening. So that might just be some interest to you of where people are, how many people are there during the course of the morning. Changes in the afternoon, it changes in the evening. You get all of that information to know their media consumption patterns given the time of the day. It also changes seasonally. Right, summer, July, August, they're kind of low months for media consumption in general. Then it kicks back in September. It's going to peak in November with the elections in terms of people involved in media. There's a lull at Christmas time, people are on vacation. And then church media really kicks in Advent and Lent too. Next slide. So in the social media world, Facebook is the #1 mobile app and the #1 social media. It's also the most profitable. And at the recent F8 conference, that's the Facebook Future conference, Mark Zuckerberg outlined their plans for the next 10 years. And Facebook desire is so that anyone can share anything. That's their goal. Anyone can share anything. Currently, you can share text, you can write something, you can share an article that you linked to on the internet, you can share a picture, you can share a video, you can share voice. Well, they are even thinking of sharing things in virtual 3D. That's Facebook's goal, anyone can share anything. They currently have 1.6 billion subscribers. That's probably 20% of the world's population, and they have over 1 billion hits a day. It is the largest media network in the world, and they're constantly improving and refining their algorithms and providing new services. And I think it's kind of a perfect business model. You create content for them. That brings people to your page. People stay on your page. They see the ads that Facebook has placed there, and Facebook gets the money. You do the work, they get the money. But you're happy because it doesn't cost you anything to get your message out there. Number two, in terms of social media apps out there, is Instagram. That's owned by Facebook. It's not as flexible, and it's not growing as quickly, but it's useful. And then number three is Twitter, and it's really slow in its growth. It's not as flexible. It's come to, it's trying to acquire flexibility a little bit late in the game. Now you can put audio and video. Their video service is called Periscope. But Periscope is probably going to be redundant now with what Facebook is offering, which is called Facebook Live. Next slide here. Lessons learned about social media. That's a picture from Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook page, 2013. And you see the connections of Facebook throughout the world. Where there's white light, those are people who are connected to each other. Very active in the major population centers of the developed world, but even in third world countries. Look at how India is totally plugged into this. What's glaringly missing here is China. You see that up there? China is just missing. That's a pity. They've got so much to contribute. The sub-Saharan Africa, there's basically not much population. There's very, very poor. But the rest is amazingly connected. So we do live in a global, truly a global world, and your message can go out to the globe. Now, how do we reach people like this? So, for instance, on Facebook at Relevant Radio, let me move back here a little bit. Every show host has a page. We encourage them to post news about their shows and to post daily. We've also found you can't post too much. You can post bad things, but you can't really post too much. And for the last several months, we've been averaging between 25 and 35 million unique persons in the audience that we reach monthly. And for the course of the coming year, that will generate close to 3 billion impressions. Our total on our pages would be probably 3.3 million likes, but it's a very viral group. They share things. How do you do that? These are the messages that may be most useful to you in how you manage social media and your approach to it. If you want to grow, and if you want a post, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or other social media devices, if you want it to grow, it's got to be something that's now. It has to be something that's beautiful. It has to be something that's personal. Now means it's current. That's what people are talking about. What are they talking about today? They're talking about the Egypt Air jet that crashed in the Mediterranean Sea. How can you, moving to the next point, make that something beautiful? You could post that news and say, let's join Pope Francis in a prayer for these people. And the third characteristic has to be personal. So now means all those things combined together are relevant. These are the three characteristics that we try to pay attention, especially on the Father Rocky page. I try to talk about what's going on now. It might be what's in the news. It might be good news. It might be something beautiful that I've seen. It could be a feast day in the church, Christmas or Easter. It could be a season of the year, May. It could be July 4th and Independence Day, but something that's on people's mind. Beautiful is one of the transcendent characteristics or categories of God, the beautiful, the true, and the good. And if you feed people things which are beautiful, it catches their eye, it gives them a refreshment, and they're likely to share it. Now, when I say it's personal, it doesn't have to be about you. It doesn't have to be about the person whose name is on the page, because many times that's self-defeating and it can look vain and egotistical and it doesn't get traction. But they know it's coming from your voice. So there's a difference between something which is highly polished and branded and now and beautiful, but it lacks sort of that personal characteristic. I saw a post on Archbishop Gomez's Facebook page last week, which I thought was brilliant. It was a picture probably of his hand with a rosary in his hand, but it wasn't about him, it wasn't his face, but he said, this is the rosary my mother gave me 40 years ago when I got ordained. And he was using it to promote devotion to the rosary and also in some way appreciation for parents and the fourth commandment. All of those combined make the posts now beautiful, personal, relevant. So let's illustrate that. This slide, as you know, you can see kind of the watermark on the right, is Pope Francis in the Philippines back in January of 2015. And now on the left, you see the Insights page. My page, the Father Rocky page, jumped up 500,000 likes in those 5 days from the 14th of January to the 20th of January. And it reached a phenomenal audience of 28 million unique people with 6.2 million people engaged. It was all about the now. It was all about the beautiful, all about the relevant. This doesn't happen every day, right? This happens rarely that you get something like that, but it really does illustrate the point. It also touched a nerve in the heart of the Filipino people here and abroad who were really happy that the spotlight of the world was on their country at that time. Here is an illustration of a post recently, April 16th, of something I thought was beautiful. I was in a church in Minnesota. I simply took a picture of this, very clearly a Catholic sort of icon here. And what I wrote here was this comment, Hail Holy Queen. And then a little catechesis here, Saturdays are devoted to the Blessed Mother. Not too much. A little prayer, Queen of the Family, pray for us. And then make it a little more personal. Seen along the way at St. Mark's Church in Shakopee, Minnesota. And within a day, you can see down there, it was seen by 1.3 million people. And the reason for that is the Facebook algorithms identify what people want to spend time reading or looking at. And this grabbed the attention. So the Facebook algorithm then promotes that. Next slide here, personal. This is Drew Mariani, the Drew Mariani Show. He was down in, goodness gracious, I thought he was down in Ecuador. This looks like when he was in Africa. And he posted down here live Facebook videos of what he was doing. And you can see it's about his experience, and he's sharing that experience with you. Now, there's so much more going on here. As they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And what are those? Some of the words here? Missionary activity, solidarity with the poor, universality of the church, hope of the future with young people, cultural diversity, trying new things. That's all part of it right there. And so we take all of that and put it on our app. We call the Relevant Radio app, which you get on Apple or on Android, the #1 Catholic radio news and prayer app in the world. We call it #1 because it's probably the only Catholic radio news and prayer app. We've got radio news and prayer. So a little marketing there. And a little bit here. Here's something that might be of interest to you, our shows. We say we're on air, online, and on demand. On air, that means AM and FM, 24/7, online through the internet. On demand, everything we broadcast becomes a podcast. And podcast is a growing media consumption pattern. And the key thing about a podcast, it has to be quality. It's kind of evergreen content. It could be good today or tomorrow, next week. And we also offer, it's a very popular feature, something very simple. Rosary with music, rosary without music, rosary, a short rosary, and various prayer selections. Just basic stuff. And there you see the Relevant Radio app. Well, this turned into kind of a commercial here at this point, so thank you. Now, let me see if I can pull up here the chat and see if we can take some questions. All right. So, Kate to Everett, also change the current whether you're the master, you have international files. Okay, so this brings up a point. Thank you. Kate. I hope everybody can see that question on the chat box. Can they, Brian?
Yes, but let me also just make an announcement. As we said before, there are two ways to submit questions. If you're participating through the Zoom feature, through the video feature, and you want to submit it in text, there's a chat feature at the bottom of the page. So you click on chat and then submit your question. You can send it to everyone. That's fine.
All right.
And then the other way of doing it is to raise your hand if you're participating by phone by clicking *9 on your phone. So you're invited to submit questions.
Great. Thank you. Well, here's some questions coming in from Kate to everyone. It also changes according to whether you're purely domestic or have international followers. They're mostly on mobile and are in a way different time zone. That's true. I could show you the analytics on my Facebook page. Since 2/3 of the world's population lives in Southeast Asia, you would expect 2/3 of my followers are in Southeast Asia. They're from about 195 countries around the world. And I take all that into account in terms of their consumption patterns when they're active. Most people are active on social media in the morning and after work, not so much during the day. But it is truly a global phenomenon. And many people who are in the United States have relatives in other countries. They share it on their Facebook pages, and it does go global. Now, for those of you who are communications directors and you manage a Facebook page for the bishop of your diocese, you can promote that page to Catholics who live within, let's say, 25 or 50 miles of the headquarters of the diocese and target that audience so they can follow the posts that your bishop or archbishop does on a daily basis. You can build your own local community there. All right, so toggling down here, we've got another question here. Hi, Father. Christian Gonzalez here in Austin. Hi, Christian, I saw you yesterday. You asked the question, what do you think about trying to monetize Facebook or to use it for fundraising? Good question. I just passed along an article yesterday about how Facebook is trying to allow not-for-profits to raise money through Facebook to monetize it. So far, in these 6 years, we have not found a way to monetize Facebook. In fact, whenever I try to do any self-promotion of relevant radio or products, the algorithm shuts it down. They make me pay to promote it to the people who already like my page. So then it comes down to measuring the effectiveness of your advertising dollars spent on that. You do know that if you promote fundraising ideas to people who are already members of your page, they've already raised their hands saying that they like you, and that's going to be more efficient than promoting that ad to people who are not already members of your page. So I hope that's good. Now, toggling down here, it says, hi, Father Rocky from Holy Cross Family Ministries in Massachusetts. Forrest here in Massachusetts. Thanks for being on with us. Do you use campaigns, contests, etc., and have you had good results with them? The only time I have used campaigns to promote the Father Rocky page is when they're time sensitive. The Pope in the United States, the Pope in the Philippines, or Christmas, or maybe the Pope's birthday, or something like that. Secular industry, we're talking about corporate America, Toyota, Chevrolet, McDonald's, big brands. They will pay up to $2 a like to get a member of their page. I know this from somebody who's a friend who works at a local advertising agency. In general, when we promote our page, we're going to spend less than, sometimes less than a penny each. So we don't have that kind of money to spend to promote it, and really haven't figured a way to monetize it. Okay, you could use contests. Contests are a great way to drive interest and then try to pivot them from Facebook to your own platform and get their email addresses. That's a project that remains to be done at Relevant. We just haven't had the time or resources for that. All right, then we've got a question from Hillary to everyone. Do you think you need to be on the majority social media channels or focus your efforts on the big ones or the most relevant? That's, again, a question of return on investment, how much time you have. Whatever you post on Instagram can show up in your Facebook page. Not so with Twitter. I think Twitter has a real good resource for journalists, because I do follow some Twitter feeds in terms of the headlines, the news, and what they reference them for all. Again, you have to measure it. How much time you have, and what's the payoff. And again, I've made an assumption here, and I really ought to talk about this assumption is, and what is your goal in social media? Is it public relations? Is it to serve as a blog? Is it to provide information? Is it impact? I think the goal of the page that I work on, the Father Rocky page, is very simple: to attract a large global audience so I can foster and reinforce Catholic faith. So I avoid controversial topics, and some people think I'm Pollyannish because of that, and that's a legitimate gripe, but that's not the purpose of that page. Others have pages which are more provocative and perhaps more effective. I don't know what's most effective, but our goal is to have a large global audience, and through that page foster and reinforce Catholic faith on a regular basis, and from time to time promote relevant radio brand awareness. Okay, next question here. We'll get lots of questions here. Diocese of Trenton, what can you tell us about walking with a Spanish-speaking community? Spanish-speaking community is very socially engaged. I just don't post in Spanish, but I do have a lot of people from Mexico, South America, and Central America all over this page. Lots of people all over the world want to speak English, and sometimes they just hit the translate button on their machine and it translates what's with them. So I would encourage you to focus there, because they're online. Believe me, they're online. If you hear some dishes in the background, that's because I'm at a bar that hasn't opened up yet. All right, can Snapchat fit in the mix of social channels that the church is used to evangelism? Great question. So about 2 weeks ago, I was doing a live broadcast at a Oh, somebody needs to mute. 2 weeks ago, I was doing a broadcast at a Catholic grade school in Minnesota, 750 kids. And the final question an 8th grade boy asked is, Father, do you use Snapchat? And I said, no, I don't use Snapchat. I do use Facebook and Instagram and SoundCloud. And then I asked them, how many of you have a smartphone? And nobody put their hands up. I said, all right, how many of you have a smartphone in your locker? They all put their hands up. These are 12, 13, and 14-year-olds. How many of you are on Facebook? Very few. How many on Instagram? Half of them. How many on Snapchat? All of them. So Snapchat goes to that demographic of adolescents and pre-adolescents. That's where they are. I don't use it myself. I think it's got a limited use for what I'm trying to do. But I think people who are involved in youth ministry have to be in Snapchat, because that's where the youngsters are. Okay, next question from Kate. What is the importance of images versus text on Facebook? Great question, Kate. If you put a beautiful picture on there, it's 100 times more effective. And then if you do live video, it's going to go crazy. Right now, Facebook is pushing live video through their live feed. We broadcast the Mass every day, and we didn't have to do anything different except put a phone up there, touch a button, and broadcast Facebook Live, and you get an audience at any one time of 3,000 people in the course of a half hour. You get close to 50,000 people over the course of the day. You might have 250,000 views on it. So the image is vitally important. Next question from David Everett. How can we use social media to identify the Catholics in a 50-mile radius? Okay, so if you want to promote a page, go to, Brian, do I have time to actually demonstrate this? Okay, I'm going to try to demonstrate this.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
All right, let's see how we do this. Okay, so can you all see this so far?
Yeah, what are we supposed to be seeing right now?
All right, a blank screen. Now you see Google. You see that?
No, I think we just, oh, okay, yeah, something's coming up.
Can you see my Facebook page?
So all we see right now is that something is coming up. Relevant radio presentation, PPTX.
All right, let me see. Can you see the Father Rocky Facebook page?
Okay, yes, we see that now.
Okay. Does everybody follow me? Right now, my cursor is on my nose. I'm going to move it up to the top right. You follow that, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to do a drop-down menu. Here, I'm going to go to Create Ads. See that so far? All right. Now it's going to boot up. So that's Create Ads. If you want to promote your page within a 50-mile radius, and I'm going to say promote your page. That's the second item here. You have all sorts of choices. We're going to choose the second. And it's booting up here. Here it comes. That's a little bit slow. All right, so here on the right, it says campaign name, and I say page likes. You can call your campaign name whatever you want. I can hit the button continue. It brings up a new screen. It leads me right through it. All right, so page, choose a Facebook page you want to promote. And I'm going to promote the Father Rocky page. There it is. And it says define, you see me here, Brian? Audience, define who you want to see your ads, learn more. And I'm going to go down here to location. And I'm going to type in, if I can here, let's see. I'm going to type in Chicago. You see that so far?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to select Chicago. And there it is, 25 miles, or slide that button over, 50 miles. You see that so far? All right, so I've got that. And it walks you right through the ad demographics. Here, you've got your age. You can get age, whatever age group you want, men and women. Then you can select languages, and you can get even more detailed targeting. So that's just it's a no-brainer. It leads you right through it. You can focus your ads on practicing Catholics who live within 50 miles or 10 miles or 1 mile of your target market. All right, so now let's go back to, what do we need to go back to? Chat. How are we doing so far?
We're doing good. So let me just make the announcement. So if people want to ask questions by phone, yeah, that's the *9 to raise your hand, or submit questions through chat. The other thing that I think Father Rocky might be very useful, that's the thing of the live broadcast through Facebook. If you can talk a little bit more about that.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Brian, for the sake of everyone. I'm going to give a 10-second answer to the following 12 questions, so everybody gets a little satisfaction, and then go on. So the next question from Diocese Trenton: what would you say is the age range of the people who follow you on Facebook? How can you reach the youth and young? 80% of the people who follow me on Facebook are under age 35. Again, in the insights on Facebook, it tells you exactly who they are: age, gender, location. Have you had any experience using Snapchat to reach youth? All right, I spoke about that a minute ago. What is your take on Periscope? My thought is Facebook Live will eliminate Periscope. Periscope works within Instagram, or works within Twitter, but Facebook Live gets you a much bigger audience. It's the same thing, but it reaches a much bigger audience. The unfortunate part of using Snapchat is you cannot grow your following as easily as Facebook or Twitter because there's no way to search for potential connections. It will require a lot of word-of-mouth promotion your followers. That's probably true. That's why I think Snapchat's the way. Well, again, that's a great question, Christian. Really, it depends what your objective is. Some bishops' objective is simply to provoke conversation. It's not to grow an audience. Others is institutional communication, only giving good news. So how you measure success depends largely on the goal you establish for yourself. You can have various Facebook pages for an entity. All right, from CNF to everyone, obviously social media is a very important evangelization tool, but I always caution parishes and youth ministers and others about how they use it, especially youth ministers, because there are age laws regarding technology geared towards youth. Even Facebook will remove users who are under 13. I expect the same true of Snapchat. Most dioceses have policies or should have regarding how they may use social media for students. Additionally, I would caution regarding copyrights and permissions. All of that is very, very accurate. In fact, we've got rules and regulations at Relevant Radio. We won't post any picture of minors without a release slip from their school or their parents. And I would never encourage posting a picture of a minor with their full name on it. If you want to reach young people, you need to know where they are, and you have to do it in a way which is mindful, and I would also say prayerful, praying to the Holy Spirit. It's just a platform of communication, and it's not the most important platform of communication. The most important platform of communication is personal conversation and personal friendship. That's what we all have to remember in terms of evangelization. I use it simply as a way to encourage people wherever they are in a good and positive message. And then back to that other question, Brian, about Facebook Live. Let's say you're at an event that is beautiful and good and true and wonderful. It could be a concert. It could be a choir. It could be a mass. Yeah, I don't know, whatever it is. And you think it would be uplifting to people. You can use the Facebook Live feature to promote that. Again, you have to be aware of what your rules and regulations are, what kind of restrictions you might have, and all the rest. That's something you got to take into it. So I think those are the questions.
The story from a few weeks ago in Rome at the communications conference, I thought that was a pretty powerful example. If you want to tell that.
Which one was that?
Yeah, that was when there's one of the sessions at Santa Croce that you happen to hold up.
Oh, yeah. All right, so there was a communications conference at the Pontifical University of Holy Cross in Rome, and one of the panels was 3 bishops in 3 different parts of the world, and what they had in common were difficult assignments. One is from Liberia, another is from Baghdad, and the third was from Estonia. And the bishop who was speaking from Baghdad was speaking in Italian. I could understand it, and it was absolutely gripping story he was telling. So I just took my phone out and pushed Facebook Live. I thought the world needs to hear this. And within short order, thousands of people were watching. And then I got all sorts of messages from Chaldean Catholics and Christians in different parts of the world, very grateful that I brought that to the public awareness. And then that bishop found me on Facebook and thanked me for getting his message out to a larger audience. So is that what you wanted me to say, Brian?
Yeah. I was also talking about the woman from the Vatican Museum, and just to be able to announce a few minutes later that whatever 10,000 people have just been heard.
Oh yeah. That nun gave a great presentation on the beauty of art and how it's effective for evangelization. Plus, she had a British accent, good sense of humor. I said, "Gee, this is great. I want a lot of other people to see this." So we did a Facebook Live with this, and within an hour, I don't know, 50 or 100,000 people had seen it, and then they could share it. So again, Facebook's determination is for anyone to share anything, and in the church, we're in the business of sharing good news. And that helps people along their way. Well, Brian, I have to kind of cut out here. I've got another engagement coming on here. I want to thank all the people who've tuned in. I hope it is of some help. We're certainly grateful for all the good work you're doing, and a lot of very good questions here. Clearly, people have a lot of experience, and I could learn tremendous about you. So thank you to all of that.
And Father Rocky, well, thank you so much. This has been a great presentation. I think that's really encapsulates it very nicely. Beauty now and personal, and we have a great message, and it just it seems like these are some great ideas about how to get that out. And to everybody out there, I'd like to thank you for joining our webinar here. You can find out about future webinars by joining the Catholic Academy, catholicacademy.org. You can find out about future webinars. You can also check out our podcast. And I also look forward to seeing you all at the Catholic Media Convention in St. Louis from June 1st to 3rd. So everybody, thank you so much for participating. And if you didn't get a chance to see all this, it will soon be on the Catholic Academy website. Thank you for participating.
Hey, Brian, are you going to the Catholic Academy thing in St. Louis?
Yes, I am.
I'll be there too.
Okay, all right. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll look for you.
Yeah, should be pretty good. And as I said, I think this is a very helpful presentation. So thanks.
These people raised a lot of good questions about permissions and copyrights, and one person mentioned that they wanted to share that too, but they were wary of not having permission. That's a serious issue that we have to study. You know.
Yeah, that's right. As I said, there's a lawyer that we had last month who warned against even something like the Mass. Broadcasting a Mass on Facebook, you could be getting into copyright trouble for things like the music. But it seems like it is a little bit of a minefield out there with the permissions and so on. I mean, I also, I think I don't really even know.
And here would be my response to that.
Yeah.
I have never, in all my years, had an issue with copyright issues simply because I'm not monetizing my page. There's no profit in this.
Yeah. I imagine there must be a certain amount of trade-off of real world versus, the legal. The legal ultimate absolutes as well. I mean, let's say you have a photo. Let's say we had a photo in the parish or something like a painting somewhere. Well, who actually owns the rights to that image? Who knows? I don't know.
No, it's interesting. I think we'll have to consider. We'll have to talk more about it because, yeah.
Now, we had one last.
Somebody serious here. I'm eager to see if your answer my permissions concern. My own parish live streams masses, but solves that problem by putting a sign on the door that they're streaming. We do that too at Relevant Radio. We've got a sign. We're live streaming it. But this issue about copyright for music, I never even thought about that. Anyway, that's another talk for another day. I have to go. All right.
Okay, Father Rocky. Okay, thanks so much.
You bet. Bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.